Folks, we're back. This is Steve Sampson, Jim Jonas. Today's guest is Stephen Plug, and he's going to be talking about the corruption in the Clark County family court system. But before we get to Mr. Plug, Jim.
Yeah, it's interesting. So obviously, based on all the conversations I've had with people, thanks to you, Steve.
I don't know if that's a good thing or
no, it's a good thing, because what's the number one thing we're looking for, right? Is exposing corruption. Not looking for it, but just exposing it, right? So for years I've said, yeah, I'm pretty sure there's corruption in family court. There's corruption in all government. Right. And I kind of just went, okay. And as we were going through our interviews, of course I was sympathetic, but, the Lovelady case. That was something else. Like, I have no idea why they didn't, literally understand. So a citizen comes up and just wants to observe the courtroom, right? So the marshal says, well, you can't observe because it's a sealed case. Right. So then the judge starts to talk. The county clerk interrupts the judge, says, I'm sorry for interrupting, Judge. I never mean to do that. But in theory, this is supposed to be a sealed case. Mm. And Mr. Snyder, the attorney, have requested for it to be a sealed case. And he provided the documents, but they were never submitted.
Or ordered.
Yeah, actually ordered by the court. So then the judge says, okay, well, he moves into, I forget what the success was, but long story short, the case was never sealed.
And they booted out the court observers for no freaking reason.
Yeah, and so here's the thing, and this is the crux of what I got out of it. Okay, for way too long, this is what happens. People need to understand that individuals that are elected to public office, which judges in the state of Nevada, that's a whole different story on whether they should be elected or not. But it is law in the state of Nevada that judges are elected. So basically, we're their boss. They're not our boss. Now, if the case was actually sealed, then it's very clear there's a statute that says that you can't get any information about the case unless you are a part of the case. An attorney, you have to go to the county clerk into the courthouse, show them a photo ID, case number, then they will release the documents to you. But if the case was in fact sealed, how does the recording show up on YouTube? It can't.
Exactly.
It absolutely cannot. The public has no right, the overall public has no right to view, and this camera feed was from the court. It wasn't from somebody videotaping or anything like that. So obviously the case was not sealed.
No, the case wasn't sealed. The marshal lied, and the judge didn't do anything about it. So the judge lied too because he let it happen.
Yeah.
And the judge is in charge of the marshal.
And I'll actually be posting an article that has all the details of, because there's a lot of legalese involved. So I don't want to take away time from the guest, but there's a lot of legalese involved, and I'll explain that. But in a nutshell, just to sum it up, what more than likely will happen is Judge Duckworth, because Judge Duckworth is, trust me, I know how this guy works. he's going to say, oh, well, the marshal must have been mistaken.
No, everybody heard when the marshal kicked me out. I mean, unless the judge is deaf and dumb.
Even
Maybe
if the marshal did misunderstand, he was actually under the supervision of the judge.
And I even told the marshal.
So that means that the judge is just as guilty as the marshal.
Exactly. Plus, I even told the marshal that this is not a sealed case.
Yeah.
He goes, yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. So he stuck by instead of going back to try to find out more information. He just stuck by his guns.
And then if you watch, when the marshal comes back into the courtroom, he goes and he walks behind the bench, and then he goes out of view of the camera because the camera's right above the judge. And then all of a sudden, the clerk tells the judge, in theory, this should be a sealed case. So it should be...
In theory, I should be a multimillionaire.
Right. In theory, but I just find it ironic from when you requested to observe, the marshal tells you it's a sealed case. Then all of a sudden, the marshal comes in, walks around, talks to the clerk, and then the clerk interrupts the judge and says, in theory, this should be a sealed case. Funny how that works.
So this is what happened now. So they kicked out one person to not view this case.
Right.
So now the entire case, every hearing is on YouTube, plus the case that they kicked me out of. Yeah. Over 800 people already watched that from yesterday. So go figure. Right. That's a really smart thing they did. They kicked one person out. Now over 800 people saw it, and I think Court TV is going to pick it up.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
I mean, that is so dumb.
and rightfully so. And here's the thing. It's not about some personal vendetta against Judge Duckworth or family court in general. It's the principle. And it's not just family court where this happens, even though it happens way too often in family court. It's just, in general, it happens all the time because politicians don't realize this. And it's not even so much the politicians. Viewers and listeners need to understand what I'm saying right now. You need to realize that your tax dollars pay their salaries. Therefore, they are your employee. You're not theirs. And the only way you can hold them accountable is if you're active, you educate yourself and hold them accountable. Because it's just like anybody else, like any job you have. If you know that your boss isn't going to follow up on something they tell you to do, are you going to do it?
How do you actively make a judge accountable? What would be the steps to tell the judge that's wrong?
Oh, we're still in our rants. What are you doing jumping in here? We haven't even got a bio from you yet. Right. Nobody even know who you are yet.
Yeah. But anyway, I just wanted to bring that up as an example. And like I said, I'll be posting an article that gets into all the Latin legalese and step by step why it was wrong in the way the court handled this. But just in general principle, that's what I mean, though, is that people need to start understanding that they have to start holding these politicians accountable. Yeah. And the reason why politicians are not bad. We elect bad politicians because we don't inform ourselves and vote for good ones.
Agreed. So, you done with your rant?
Yeah, I'm done.
So, Mr. Plug, how you doing today, sir?
Top of the world.
Give us a bio.
Of me or of my court hell I'm going through?
No, Jim Jones. Give us a bio of you.
66 years old. I have a daughter who's 16. I've been in and out of family court hell for the last 13 years. I'm currently on your show to try to bring justice to what's going on in my case. In fact, our movement's called Don't Let Family Court Happen to Your Family, because family court literally ruined my daughter's childhood, and I'm looking for justice by being on your show. Thank you.
And And you're welcome. And you recently you did the Blue Jeans, which was the live stream into the court,
Yes.
right where you're sitting at right now.
Yep.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about your case and anything that's pertinent.
Okay. 13 years. I'm going to condense it to 5 minutes to do my best job at doing just that. My wife and I both have, or ex-wife, Jesus Christ, have 50-50 physical and 50-50 legal custody of my daughter. She's always perpetrated war on me.
She was 3 when this first.
Yeah, my daughter was 3 when all this hell happened.
And now she's 16.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
I was announced that we're
time.
getting divorced when my ex-wife kidnapped and concealed my daughter for 4 months and hid out at a known pedophile's house and child rapist. That's how I was announced that I'm getting divorced. That's how it all happened.
Right.
And then I had to drop my daughter off at that pedophile's house for 8 months because he wasn't a known pedophile. He wasn't a registered sex offender. Neither was John Wayne Gacy. Neither was Ted Bundy, by the way. So, and I knew the background of that person she was living with. The latest thing that's happened in this 13-year war is my daughter she's very sensitive and she can no longer take the war that her mom's perpetrating. So she actually tried to kill herself. Just literally took a bunch of pills at my house, trying to kill herself. Not turns out, all there was antibiotics. Antibiotics don't kill you. If you had sleeping pills with alcohol, that'd be a huge problem. But I just had some antibiotics, and they were leftovers. They're like a quarter of a bottle. So
Sleeping pill and alcohol will put you in a coma.
yeah, and these were just stone sober antibiotics, and there was only like 10 pills. All she did was get a great immune system, but she got upset, and she got sick. That hell. But I didn't know at the time she tried to commit suicide. I thought she was just sick. That. 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, whatever it was, my best friend calls me up and says, my best friend, Michelle, her daughter, Nikki, is my daughter, Chase's best friend. Their best friend. She calls me up and says, Steve, you need to be sitting down. I said, what? I said, Chase wasn't sick 3 weeks ago or whenever it was. She goes, she tried to kill herself. Imagine sitting home and finding out your daughter almost killed herself and tried to kill herself and you had no idea. So Chase comes walking in the door and I knew my ex was going to use this against me. So I took my camera, my cell phone, put it in my pocket, put it on record. When she walks in the door, I said, Chase, sit down. Honey, I'm shaking like a leaf. Why did you try to kill yourself? And as we start talking, she said to me, she goes, well, this war that you and mommy are in, that mommy's perpetrating, she goes, I couldn't take it anymore. And so I tried to kill myself. I said, well, did you talk to anybody, your therapist, me, your mom? She said, how can I look my mom in the eye and tell her you're the reason I tried to kill myself? That's a pretty strong statement. She didn't know she was being secretly taped. Fast forward. My ex did not show up for 9 straight months in a row at an exchange. We're supposed to meet at the police station, substation, and we exchanged there. For 9 straight months, she didn't show up. I walked into the police station, said I need what they call a red card, where they come out and a cop looks around and says, nobody's here. And they write down, defendant did not show up or whatever. And I had, 16 of those cards. And I went to court and I filed a motion. I'm a vexatious litigant, so I had to file permission to file a motion, and they gave me permission. And I said she didn't show up for 9 straight months, 38, court order violations, of which I have proof of 16 of them.
Who's the judge?
Judge Hoskins. I know, don't let Hoskins happen to your family. So I go to court.
Should make shirts that say that.
I'll wear it next time we get interviewed. So I go to court, and he never brought it up. He just dismissed it. Well, if she didn't show up for 9 straight months, and I have documented times of 16 times she didn't show up, why would you just dismiss it? That doesn't make any sense.
Hoskin and Duckworth, the other judge we were talking about, are buddies, best friends. Yeah.
That's a connection I did not know.
Yeah, they always go to lunch with each other.
Jesus Christ. Under the Constitution, it says equal rights under the law. It also says that we are innocent until proven guilty. It also says if we are accused, we should be go to court and be judged by a jury of our peers. None of that happens in divorce court and family court at all. I appeared before Judge Duckworth, did not know that. And when I was down there filing papers one time, I asked a lawyer who was sitting next to me a technical question. Forget what it was. It just, how do I do this? And he says, by the way, whose judge are you in front of? I said, Duckworth. He says, who's the opposing counsel? I said, well, Michael Strange. He goes, oh, Michael Strange was Duckworth's paralegal. They go to the same church. They have lunch together. Should recuse himself immediately.
Exactly. People don't know how to do that.
Okay. Well, I go to court in open court, and I accuse Duckworth of that. I said, hey, you should have told me, and I'm ranting and raving. Unfortunately, wasn't true. False accusation, in other words. I didn't know. How do I look that stuff up? I'm not a PI. So Judge Duckworth said, Michael Strange, you ever worked for me? No. Really? Since then, am I going to get a fair trial?
No.
Of course not. Wasn't going to get a fair trial going in. Now, if you were appearing, like I am, pro se, and the other side has a lawyer, is that going to be a equal justice under the law? I don't know squat about the law. I have a learning disability. I have attention deficit so bad I can't remember somebody's name while I'm shaking their hand and introducing themselves.
You had your phone keep going off over there?
That was me.
Oh, okay.
So, so when you go to court and you don't have a lawyer on your team, and they do, here's what happens. You get killed in court because they don't know, you don't know how to do it. Right. In other words, I filed things and the judge threw them out. I filed things that had the truth, it had the facts, it had documentation. Because they didn't write it up once, they just threw it out. So only one side gets to tell their side of the story. You're going to love this part. Now, my ex does something wrong. I file a motion. We go to court. I get all my paperwork thrown out. She gets ruled, they ruled against me, rule for her. Then, when I didn't have money for my lawyer, they now ruled that I got to pay court fees and lawyer fees for her. Which means every time I go to court, I have to be thinking, if I don't win, and I'm probably not going to because I don't have a lawyer, I'm going to have to pay for her lawyer. In other words, that's blackmail to don't show up against the other person. And that's what I'm doing right now. I'm being blackmailed not to show up. This is not right. So when I presented documentation, I said, look, my daughter said, Mommy is the reason I tried to kill myself. I said, you need to interview this girl. She tried to commit suicide. She says her mother's the reason. She prevents her from calling me on her phone, confiscates the phone, which is against a court order that I was given saying my daughter can call me anytime she feels like it. I said, go interview the daughter. Judge said no. I mean, she only tried to kill herself. She's only saying her mom won't let her call me. Why interview the cop? She's 16. It's not like she's 4. She's 16. In other countries, that's an adult and get married for crying out loud. And he just threw it out. Then he wants me to get a psychiatric evaluation. Why? I don't know. I haven't done it.
Fighting for your kid.
I'm fighting for my kid. Can't have that crap. I said, well, why don't we have the woman who, and you're going to love this, because when my daughter tried to kill herself, she's spitting up blood. Oh, so I'm like, scared.
Antibiotics?
On antibiotics. She's spitting up blood. Wow. I don't know what it did, but it upset her stomach to the point. I mean, not like Exorcist, she's pulling out. Right, I was talking about, hey, enough. I'm a dad. 1 drop is too much for the dad. Right. And another court order, the ex was told, hey, you need to give me your insurance card.
Is this your only child?
Yeah.
Wow. Did you start late?
Oh, yeah. I was 50 when Chase was hatched. So I'm like granddad age for my daughter. Mm-hmm. We go to school functions and everybody thinks I'm her granddad. Mm-hmm. So when I went, I didn't have an insurance card. And my ex only lives like 5 minutes away. So I took the spitting up blood daughter and walked over to her porch and rang her doorbell. She has one of those cameras at the door. And she answers, she goes, what? And I go, your daughter's spitting up blood. Now I need that insurance card. Give it to me. Open up the door, hand it to me. Wouldn't do it. I said, well, then take the child to the hospital yourself. Wouldn't do it. This is what's before the court now. He was to give my ex primary custody because she takes such good care of her daughter. That just makes you want to. So my daughter isn't getting interviewed. My daughter wants to speak. So my daughter, on her own, I'm not sharing court information with my daughter, does a YouTube thing. She knows how to do that. She does all this internet stuff, Twitch and what have you. Kids do that crap nowadays. So she made her own video saying, dear judge, my mom is the reason I tried to kill myself. I want to live with my daddy. I would prefer to live with dad. And she gave a 2-minute plea to the judge. So I sent that in. I don't even think they're looking at it. If my daughter said,
ignore it.
They're just totally ignorant because I probably submitted it wrong.
It's supporting you. We can't have that.
Not a guy who falsely accused your buddy Duckworth. That's for dang sure. So here's what my daughter is having suicidal thoughts from: the war. She's very sensitive, artsy fartsy, left-handed, does all the drawings and stuff. She's a very good and very sensitive artist. She's way sensitive, cries at movies, that kind of sensitivity.
Well, that's not, but I mean, that's all kids are sensitive when it comes to
just describe teenage girls, right?
Yeah, and all kids are sensitive when it comes to parental issues.
So she's had war for 13 years. Eventually, it just catches up to you. After a while, you just can't take it anymore, and that's why she tried to commit suicide. So I offered, I need to end the war. My issue is the war. Get rid of the war. Get rid of the suicide thoughts. Right. And so I offered to the ex, Haley Plog, if you're looking for the name. On your video, what have you. I said, I'll move to Phoenix, Arizona. It's 4 hours away. My daughter calls me at 8 a.m. saying she needs me. I'll be here at noon. But I am out of state. I will give you 100% legal custody, 100% physical custody, with only one caveat, that I can call my daughter anytime between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m., 7 days a week, just to make sure she's okay. Turn down the deal.
Wow.
Turn down the deal. See, I was doing that to end the war that I think is very serious.
Right.
Yeah. Now, my daughter also said in her video, if my mom gets custody, primary custody, it'll make it worse. It being the war that made her try to kill herself to begin with. So this is very real to me, dead real. So I have all these charges against me because I'm being sanctioned for everything. Every time we show up to court, I have to pay for Michael Strange's $250 an hour thing. So I'm looking at $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 worth of court fees.
So you can't afford your own attorney, but you got to pay for
hers.
the ex's attorney.
Equal justice under the law.
That makes sense.
Equal justice under the law.
Makes lots of sense.
So I'm being court ordered to cough up $6,000. And I'm being court ordered to come up with a psychiatric evaluation, which I have no intention of doing. I did go down and get my own psych eval. It says, hey, you're fine. You're stressed out of your tree. Yes. You're having anxiety attacks. True. But the person they wanted me to go see, I called them up and said, what kind of psychiatric stuff do you do? What are your symptoms? I told them a little bit. He goes, well, you probably are depressed. So get down here and get an official diagnosis and we'll get you some medication. I haven't even gone down there yet and they want me on drugs. I'm violently against psychiatric medication. Violently against.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm not going down there because if I get a psychiatric eval that's biased, corrupt, part of the system, I have to live with that diagnosis for the rest of my life. So I got another one. I'm going to send that in and say, you don't like it? I don't know what to do. I'm not taking it. So I'm going to be telling Judge Hoskins, I'm not getting a psychiatric evaluation from your guys, and I'm not paying $6,000 for an unfair trial. That's going to give me what they call a, what do you call it when you just tell the judge you're not going to do it?
Violating the court order?
No, the one where he says that's contempt.
Oh, yeah. Contempt.
Contempt of court means you go straight to jail. Okay.
No, it doesn't necessarily mean that. You could get sanctioned.
With my judge,
Oh.
trust me, I'm going to jail. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to say
that is so funny. You bring that up because a family court judge is a civil judge, and is supposed to handle just civil stuff. Now, if they're going to throw a criminality in there, you have a right to a counsel because now it's criminal. They're going to send you to jail.
Contempt is criminal.
Contempt is criminal. Okay, now I like it. Before I wasn't so sure. You should.
I didn't know that.
You should file a motion with the court and say you can't afford an attorney, and so since this is criminal and you're looking at jail time, you have the right to a public defender. Deal.
So he hasn't given that order yet. So I don't.
Or he should just leave it alone and send it to a criminal judge to go do, since he's not a criminal judge.
Well, he hasn't sanctioned me with contempt yet.
But then he should have provided you with an attorney, since they're moving into a criminal court now.
Well, they haven't done that yet. They haven't done that part yet. But the second
if he actually does that, right? Yeah.
I go to jail. They got people down there, I'm sure, and I'll do that.
No, you should have a public defender before you go to jail.
But they haven't brought it into the public yet. We're still in family court with family court stuff.
I'm confused what family court is anymore. Is it criminal or is it civil? I'm lost.
It's neither. It's corrupt.
Oh, it's corrupt. It's neither criminal or
Family
civil.
court in Vegas is more corrupt than Mayor Daley Chicago in the 60s.
Well, that's why there's so many, and I don't want people to think that I'm against attorneys, because I'm not. Like, trust me, and I'm not going to go into it, but I've needed an attorney from time to time in my life. So, attorneys are not bad people. However, the problem with family court is I have a lot of friends that are attorneys. And if I even mention family court, I'm like, well, have you ever done a family court case? They're like, oh, hell no, I'm never going in there. Because I have no idea what the rules are.
Well, there aren't any, just to clarify that.
Yeah, they're like, we know the law, but in family court, they don't.
Kangaroo court.
Yeah, so there's only a small number of attorneys that practice family law actually in the family court system, because they want to keep the circle very close. So that way they can manipulate everybody.
Well, family court. Attorneys know family court is a quick payday for them.
Yeah,
because you're risking losing the most precious thing in the world, which is your child. Yeah. So you will go through anything to try to pay anybody to keep your kid, and they know that.
Yeah.
They know that.
Right arm to save your kid.
They absolutely know that. That's why it's just a ripoff for litigants. They rip litigants off.
They do
all the time.
I got two quotes for you. Abraham Lincoln, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, said a lawyer who represents himself has a fool for a client. But at least that fool went to law school.
I don't know if it was Abraham Lincoln that said that.
Somebody else then? Okay. The quote's right. I don't know who it's from.
When Abraham Lincoln was president, they actually didn't have law school.
Oh. Okay. So, well, I just added the last part. Oh, okay. So the quote is true. If you represent yourself, you have a fool for a client. Mm-hmm. If a lawyer represents himself, at least the lawyer went to law school. I didn't, so I don't even know how to fill out forms. Mm-hmm. Another quote from F. Lee Bailey says, nobody goes to court for justice. They go to court to win. And lawyers try to win at all costs, no matter who they got to mow down. A lawyer is taught in law school how to suppress the truth, how to twist the truth, how to bend the truth, any way, shape, or form to win a case.
You forget one other thing. They really know how to do billable hours.
They really know how to do billable hours.
They're really good.
That's true. So when a pro se layman goes to court, he's a fool and he doesn't know the law, and the other guy's twisting, suppressing, and lying, cheating, and stealing, as I can figure, against you. And that is not equal justice under the law in any way, shape, or form. And if a judge doesn't like you, you are supremely screwed for life, especially if you do something like I did, a false accusation. It was false. It was wrong. I was wrong. But now I'm like, till hell freezes over, this judge is going to have it in for me. So I'm not getting equal rights in the judge. We're sure not getting a jury trial, which I believe should be in family court like yesterday. Because if a judge doesn't like you, that's it.
What is your court date?
January 11th.
Okay.
And I invite everybody to come listen in.
So that's when they're going to decide if you're going to go to jail or not?
Yep. Now,
make sure you ask for a public defender. Since this is criminal.
I don't want to go to jail. It's not like I'm looking forward to it. But if you ask any parent, would you take a bullet for your kid?
Absolutely.
No pause, no think about it, no gray area. Yes. Does that mean you want to get shot? Hell no, I don't want to get shot. Right. I don't want anybody to shoot my kid. Big difference. Why am I going? The reason I'm contempt of court, because remember, I got to do that to get that, is I don't want my daughter to be part of a war I can't personally end in any other way. I tried to end the war by moving to Arizona. Didn't happen. If I actually go to jail, war, in fact, does come to a dead stop. So I would go to jail to keep my daughter from wanting to commit suicide or hating life so bad she doesn't even enjoy life. I go for 2 years. At 18, family court no longer has jurisdiction over me, and her sadistic mother no longer has jurisdiction over my daughter. When my daughter turns 18 2 years from now, September 8th, her and I can live happily ever after.
And it's so sad that you have to go through all of this just to maintain a relationship with your own child.
Yeah. Now, just so we're clear, for the last 13 years, I have never physically hurt my daughter, mentally hurt my daughter, emotionally hurt my daughter, always put a roof over the head, food on the table, give her lots of hugs and kisses, did everything a father is supposed to do. Why have I been sanctioned? Why have I been fined? Why have I been all this stuff? To pay for her lawyer. Why am I only going to jail? Because I'm refusing to pay for her lawyer. When he gives me court costs, I would say, not paying it. You're done stealing from me.
Well, you know,
let me just pause just for a second, just for my, just so I can get this off my chest. Just out of general curiosity, this all started when your daughter was 3 and she's now 16?
Think she's had enough?
Well, but, so let me ask you, there's got to be a reason why this keeps going back into the courtroom. Like, what is going on that has caused this to go on for 13 years?
And let me add, according to Nevada revised statutes, cases are supposed to end in 6 months in family court.
Supposed to.
But you know they take the children away from the bad parent. I mean, from the good parent and give it to the bad parent, knowing that the good parent is going to constantly fight for their kid. That's to keep the revenue going and keep the caseloads high and to keep them and to have them to obtain more judges into the system and grow government. That's what they do. Matter of fact, they just put 6 family court judges in there 2 years ago, right? Or a year ago, right?
Yeah.
It's called the grow government. And that's exactly the whole philosophy. If you put the puzzle together, you would understand it. And I don't know if you've seen that show. It's on Amazon Prime called Divorce Court. You probably want to watch that.
I was watching that if I had to watch other people going
No,
through what I
you
went
probably
through.
want to watch that because it talks about the money. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, always.
It's about.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
It's not about putting your child with the better parent. It's all about growing government and laying the pockets of lawyers and giving judges who go by discretion, not by law, more power. And that's what it's all about. If you understand that, you'll understand. That's why I don't get mad about it anymore. Because I understand how it works. And it's criminal, though.
Wasn't it, correct me if I'm wrong, my first quote was wrong, obviously, it wasn't Abe Lincoln, but didn't Sherlock Holmes say follow the money? He was dead right. And it's not just the lawyers who are lying in their pockets.
Sherlock Holmes was a myth.
Okay, so the quote is a myth.
No, the quote is correct. Just like the one, you were exactly right in your quote for the most part,
guy.
except for just wrong guy because they
Now,
actually didn't have law school when Abraham Lincoln was president.
Now back to your thing, it's not just the lawyers who are getting in their pockets lined. When a judge says, "Oh, they got to get an evaluation," that takes money.
Of course.
When they go to a doctor, and they go to a psychiatrist, and they go to a court, I mean, there's 10 people who are getting fed from that court.
All these psychiatrists, psychologists, mediator,
Mediators, that's another one.
these Donna House and court. What they call those? The one that watches you while you visit with your child.
Court observers, maybe.
No, not court observers.
I know what you're talking about.
And these attorneys,
Supervised visitation, the supervisor gets paid.
and these attorneys that are supposed to be for the children only.
Not even close.
No, they're more for one of the parent. They're not for the child. They're for one of the parent.
And then don't forget CPS because they're really good at getting you into the system. So they get a
started on
kickback
CPS.
from
That'd be
the
a whole
CPS.
nother show.
So, Mr. Plug, did you bring everything out? Did you get everything you wanted to say?
I just want you to know, I don't personally want to go to jail, but if it saves my daughter, I'll go gladly. I'll go to sleep
call me.
every night. I'll go to
pick
sleep
up.
with a smile on my face, knowing my daughter is safe. But now that I know, once I go to jail, it turns criminal, and then they have to give me a
Public
lawyer.
defender.
That was worth being on the show right there.
And if they don't, they're violating your constitutional rights. I believe it's Amendment 14.
They have no problems
right
violating my
A right
rights.
to a fair judiciary. And you're not getting a fair judiciary if you don't have legal representation while the judge says you got to go to jail. That's not legal representation.
Fair anything. Now, I'm going to be back here on January 11th, and you're going to be doing the
The blue jeans.
The blue jeans.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a link for that we can send out to people before I
The
get there?
same thing you've done the last time. You've done it before, right?
Okay.
Didn't you not send it out?
I watched
Did you not
it.
hear the part about I have attention deficit?
Did you
Can't
not
remember.
send it out?
I was going to say,
did.
I watched it.
Okay.
Send
Send it to me again. I'll send it out.
Jim, do you have any other?
No, other than, I just want to, I just want to say, I'm sorry that you're going through all this, but I also want to just commend you on, from 3 to 16, that's a long time, but good job on not giving up and being willing to come in and share your story, because it's not an easy thing to do. When you're talking about the pain and suffering and struggling for your child and the stuff that you've went through in your life, that's not an easy thing to, go on air and talk about. It takes a lot of bravery.
A saying 5 years ago, Daddy, only 5 years left. And then Daddy, only 4 years left. And then Daddy, only 3 years left. And what she said last Christmas, Daddy, only 2 years left. So she's doing a countdown till she's free.
Well, Mr. Plug, thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
And sharing your story, because I know sometimes it's difficult because it's personal.
I made it through without crying. Are you proud of me?
Oh, yeah. Sometimes it's good to cry, get it all out. But could you look into the camera? Mark's going to zoom in and tell whatever your final whatever and your point of contact if you want to give it. Totally up to you.
My name is Stephen Plog. I'm founder of the Results Project. I helped a little over 1,800 kids get off of drugs like Ritalin, Prozac, and Adderall who were diagnosed with ADD. Because of that, I was sidelined, and I have been doing my job with helping kids for 10 years because of this court case. If you'd like to contact me for my court case or kids who have ADD, just contact me at addsteve@cox.net. Be looking for you in court.
Well, folks, Jim, you have anything else?
No.
Folks, that's Stephen Plug, that he was talking about the corruption that has plagued the family court system for years. And I know back in 1993, when they formed the family court system, it's supposed to be the betterment of the children. And somehow throughout the years from 1993 to 2021, we as a society have lost our way in the family court system. One thing corrupt judges hate is exposure. So we're inviting all the litigants out there. If you want to come and tell your story one way or another, we're giving you a venue to come and tell your story. Judges, bad judges, hate exposure. So the more people expose these bad judges, the better off the public at large is going to see exactly what's going on. And they're not going to say, there's only a couple people are talking about these bad judges. No, hundreds of people are talking about these bad judges. Thousands of people are talking about these bad judges. But yet the system stays the same. And the reason is because we, the voting people, allow it to happen. Until we realize that it's bad and it's not good for the betterment of society, that's the only time it will change, when we realize it's bad. So this is Steve Sanson, Jim Jonas with Veterans in Politics. Happy 2022. And we love to see you guys next year. Be safe, be merry. Don't do anything I would do. Until next time.